Today's topic is transport request. So what is a transport request? It is basically whenever you make change in the SAP, it needs to be stored somewhere or it needs to be saved somewhere. So these changes will get stored in a request which is transportable. Transportable means like it can be moved from one landscape or one system to another. So in the support project or implementation project, we have some different systems where we perform different kind of activities. So in the development system and before development system, there is a sandbox system. So if you are unsure about the requirement or you want to do some initial testing, you can do it in the sandbox system. Then in the dev system, basically we do the changes, we make the configuration changes, and in this system, the transport is created. And once it has been created, we have to test the changes somewhere. Okay. So we can test it in the dev environment as well. So we would be maintaining some different client. Okay. So for example, we will making a change in the client 10 and we will be testing in the client 20. So once we have tested it and once we think we are ready to move the transport, we can move the transport to the quality system. In quality system, we will be also performing the testing because in quality system, we may be having a lot of data. So we can test more different scenarios. And once we test these scenarios, we can also send our test result or share the test result with the client users who can also do the testing from their end. Because if something is broken, they if somehow we are lagging to find out what is missing, they can do the testing from their end and they can let us know if there is something which has been missed. Okay, so if they found out some fault, they will ask us to do the changes again, or if they want, in some cases, they can give some additional requirements. So we have to uh, we have to make the changes for that additional requirement. So once again, we have to create another transport and we have to test those changes. And in some cases, they may found something is missing in the transport, like the requirement which they have asked, we are not able to provide that. So they will tell us, and this is missing. So again, in that case, we will be making another transport. And if something is set up incorrectly, we can revert those changes in the new transport. And then we can do the testing again, and again we'll move it to quality environment. We'll again do the testing in quality and we will share the test result with the client users. And if they are satisfied with the testing, they will allow us to move the transport request to the live system, or you can say the production system. So the purpose of transport request is to basically move it from the initial system to the live system. And there are two types of transport requests, customizing and workbench. So in customizing, basically, most of the changes from HR and we do the changes under customizing request. And changes like we have to make some change in the table. So that kind of majorly most of the changes are come under the customizing request. In the workbench request, we make the changes like holiday calendar. We do the configuration related to holiday calendar. We want to create some info set. We want to add some additional fields in the info sets or in the add a query. So those kind of changes will come under workbench. Majorly, workbench transport is used by the ABAP, and whether they have to create some program or they have to make some code changes in the existing program. Uh, that kind of transport request is majorly used by ABAP. And one more thing, in you can see here, there are two clients under the dev environment 10 and 20. So if you make the changes in the client 10, the changes will not be reflected in the client 20 in the case of customizing TR. So in that case, you have to copy those changes and into this client 20. So the transaction code to copy those changes is SCC1. Let me show you. So here the source client will be 010. And here you will be giving the transport request which you want to copy from client 10 to client 20. So in this case, I will see if there is any transport request here. Let's give the client as 800. Okay, let's see. Okay, there are different clients here. You can see. So for example, here I can give, and if I open one transport request, you can copy this by Control Y and then Control C. So for example, we are copying this transport from 0010 to 0020. So first we will do, we have to select this include task and request, and first we have to select this checkbox test run, and we can click on start immediately. So it will show us if there is any error in this, then it will give us an error in the test run. Okay. And if you are okay with it to copy this transport from 010 to 020, we can remove this checkbox and we will click on the start immediately. So in that case, the transport will be copied from client 010 to 020. And the transaction code to copy the transport is SCC1. So in the case of customizing, we have to copy the transport. If you want to do the testing in client 20, then we have to copy the transport. But in the case of workbench, whatever we make changes in the workbench, it will reflect it across all the development system. So if the change you have made in the client 10, it will also get reflected in the client 20. Now, how to create a transport request? Okay, so there are two ways to create a transport request. Either through the transaction code SE01, you can select the type of request, what type of request you want to create. For example, customizing request. And let me go through this first. So you can also see there is request status. So basically it shows the transport. It is asking us what kind of transport we want to see. Okay, so for example, I want to see the customizing request as well as their request status is modifiable. So I will be able to see the transport which are in modifiable page. Modifiable means you can make the change in the transport. And the release means the transport which has been released to different system. So here we will not be able to find any transport. Uh, uh, and also we can release the transport if you are sure, like we have tested the change and we want to release the transport. We can select it. First we have to select the subtask, and then we will click on this release button. And after the subtask is released, we have to release the main tier. And once this TR is released, you will not be able to see this transport in the under this checkbox modifiable. It will come under the release. So now how to create a transport? You can open the transaction SC01, and then you have to click on the create icon. What type of transport request you want to create? You will be creating the customizing request. And here you can give the description of your transport request. So TR2. You can also specify the project. If there is any project which your client is using, you can select that project. Otherwise, you will click on save, and a new transport will be created. Okay. And there is another thing, modification. So how to modify your transport request? So for example, this is our transport request. So it is this is my transfer request. It is containing all the changes which I have made. Okay, so you can see all the changes which I have done recently. All the changes has been stored under this transport request. Modification means for example, you have made a change For example, there is one table, base type text table, and I am making the changes transport direction y, and I will save it under the new tr. Let's suppose tr2. Okay, so I made some change, and in the transport, I have made some change, and I have renamed this base type as detection y. Okay, so this change will get reflect under my transport request tr2, because I have used this tr. So you can see one table is created, and under this table I have made some change under the base type of 1000. Okay. Then I realized no, it is a wrong change, and this has not been done. This not needs to be done. So basically, I have made a mistake. So what I will do, I have to first the revert the change which I have made. So I will remove this by. So what I am doing is basically I am taking the system back to its initial state. So I am removing the change which I have made, and I will click on save. So now I have again resaved the change to this original state. Now I have reverted the change. Now what I have to do, I have to remove these changes from here. Okay, because this change was not required, and also I have corrected it. So what I will do, I will double click on this subtask. I will click on this change icon, and I will go to this table T5123 through this. And what I will do, I will select all from here. No need to select all. You can select anything which for which you have made the change. So what I will do, I will delete it, and then I will click on save. Yes, I want to save. And now no data is stored here. So what I can do, I can also delete this table which has been created from my end by mistake. So before making any modification, you have to revert your change. After I will click on this. So you can see earlier it was expandable, and there is one table was coming. Now you will not be able to see any table because I have modified my tr, and it came back to its original state. Okay, so that's how we can do the modification or deletion. So I have shown you the first way of creating the transport through the transaction code /n SE01. There is another way of creating the transport. So for example, there is one table b underscore T512T. I will select any country grouping, and 1000. So for example, I have to make some change. I have to rename this canteen deduction to canteen deduct. Okay. So I have selected this. I have made the change. Now I'm going to click on save. So here also this prompt is coming. Okay, so I don't want to use this existing tr. I want to create my own tr. So what I will do, I will click on this create request, and I can give LTR3. I can decide what project I want to use. If there is no project, I can click on this and click on save. So now my new tr is reflecting here, LTR3, and I will save. So if I again go back to the table /n SU01, I will be able to see 3 TRs. Okay, and this transport request has been created from my end, and under this I can see one subtask, and also I can see the table which I have made the changes. Okay, so that's how we make the changes under the transport request. So let's just close this class by this topic, and okay, thank you for attending the class. Bye, take care.